Okay. Hello. Okay. So we'll be going through the Computers Honour today. So first, I'd like to go through a quick quiz just to see your knowledge of what you think a computer is. So I think we can put stuff in the chat there, and that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct.
You can put
So
that.
my friends, when you see the quiz, it's time for you to start typing on the comment section on Facebook. We are monitoring that as well as also here in a Zoom chat room. So guys, it's time for you to prepare for typing.
Okay, so the first question is, the acronym PC stands for A, private computer, B, personal compact, or C, a personal computer.
Oh, very good question. I don't think so that
Give you a few seconds.
Pathfinders will know, but maybe it's just me. Matthew, the answers are flying in. I'm just asking for everybody to just type it once. Don't type it 15 times in a row. People are saying it is option C. Option C.
C. Okay, so a lot of people know what the answer to this is. Yeah, so it is C. It actually stands for personal computer. Next question. Which component would you say is the brain of the computer? Is it A, a CPU? Is it B, the hard drive, or C, the RAM?
All right. What is the right answer? Again, I just want to remind you to just type once your answer. If you continue jamming our chat, I will have to use my ninja skills so if it's possible, let me see. Okay, but Matthew, I just want to let you know the majority are saying that letter A, CPU, is the right answer.
Okay, so people already know quite a lot about computers then, because yes, A is the correct answer for this as well. So well done if you put A for that.
Excellent. Well done, Pathfinders. Well done.
Okay, which of these are not computer components? Is not a computer component? Is it A, CPU? Is it B, the motherboard? Or is it C, is it paper?
This is a trick question. Do not allow Matthew to trick you into the wrong answer. Oh, Pathfinders are answering. Oh, please answer only once. Please don't jam. We can see you. We can see you. Majority, I can say 99.9% are saying it is option C.
C is correct. Just making sure you knew what you were talking about. So here's a more difficult one. When was the first electronic computer created? Was it A, 1923, B, 1946, or C, 2000?
Ooh, and I think that this might not be the easiest. But certainly, you can do the process of elimination. I'm sure it is not C. All right. When was the first electric computer created? Okay, it's not C. So it can be only A or B. What do you think, guys? Also think about Second World War. What happened there? Maybe can that help you as well when it happened? Okay, so guys, the majority of people are saying it is actually, they're saying it's between A and B. It's between A and B.
Okay. Oh, so this one was a little bit more difficult. It was actually 1946. That's a picture of it there. It was called the ENIAC, and it was invented by Presper Eckert at the University of Pennsylvania. So there's an interesting fact for you if you didn't know that.
Yes, it is a little bit disappointing as well that it came from United States of America. But we're not very disappointed, so it's okay.
Okay, next one. Which of these do not contain a computer? Is it A, a laptop, B, a microwave, C, an Xbox, or D, a rocket?
Ooh, which one does not contain computer? All right.
Even I'm tricked by that one.
I'm shocked with the question, but all right, Matthew. A lot of people are saying it's letter B.
Okay. I thought I'd annoy you with this one. This is a trick question. They all have a form of computer in them.
That is the reason you tricked even your father, Matthew.
So based on so following on from that, what is a computer then? A computer is any device that is electronic that manipulates information or data, and it has the ability to store, process and retrieve data. That is the definition of a computer. So maybe you want to put in the chat again. Can people name some of the components that you'd associate with a computer? So like we heard about some of those in the quiz, but if you want to put some out there, see what you know of the components that you'd find in a computer.
Okay, let's see what components we have in computer. The answers are coming in, and they are very good answers. So they started with the CPU. People say battery. Yeah, you're right. Whether you have a laptop or not, every computer has a battery. Hard drive, motherboard. Oh, some people are saying it has camera, Matthew. Others are saying a RAM, monitor, keyboard. Let me just see the ones which we did not see. Oh, some people are saying it also contains software, and that is correct. Some people are able to give the full answer, screen, and many other things. Matthew, I think that we have our Pathfinders are really doing good.
Yeah, they've got a lot of them, definitely. So we're gonna talk about the different components that you'd find in a computer. So first, probably the most important one is the CPU. As in the quiz we saw, this is the brains of a computer, and it's where you'd find it's what performs all the logic in a computer, and where the instructions are sent to the different components are processed here as well. I do have, if I can stop sharing a minute, so you can see the video. I do have a CPU here, so if you want, if I was here in person, I would have showed you what a CPU looks like. That is what it looks like. So if you,
well, thank you, Matthew, for that. Thank you for that. So it is approximately what dimensions, Matthew, would that be, just for people to know?
It's about
inch by inch, or a little bit bigger.
Yeah, about okay. Yeah, 1.5 to 2 inches by
Very
square.
Good. Very good.
So yeah, about that.
And which CPU is that, Matthew? What performance?
The one I have. The one I have in my hand.
Yes.
This is a Intel This is a Core i5 CPU. They all look pretty much the same, but yeah, that's what it looks like.
Very good.
Maybe just share this back. So yeah, that performs all the logic and the instructions and controls the components of a computer, the brain essentially. Next, we have the RAM. This stands for random access memory. This is the storage that will store all your computer programs that are open. So if you have a word processor or a web browser or something you have open, this is what would store that. I have a RAM stick here as well, just to show you what it looks like again. Yeah, that's what RAM looks like. You can see it's about that big. Like,
thank you, Matthew. Thank you.
That's yeah. So that's what stores currently open programs, and yeah, programs that are currently open. And also, when you turn your computer off, all that storage is wiped. That's why when you turn off your computer, none of your programs are left open when you restart again. The motherboard is like the blood vessels, if you want to continue with the body analogy. So this connects all your components together. So it contains all the circuitry as well as the slots that everything plug into. I don't have a motherboard because I wasn't going to disconnect my computer just to show you the motherboard, but it's, I don't know how big it is, about the size of a placemat or something. That's how big a motherboard is. As the biggest component in a computer as well, so you find it there. The hard drive, this is a storage device that contains the sort of magnetic metal platters inside, which when the magnet material is changed inside, you get, basically that contains the storage. It's very complicated. I won't explain that to you, but this is a hard drive. That's the hard drive there. It's a little bigger than so your RAM and your CPU, but that's the hard drive there. An external drive is just a hard drive, but it's plugged in with USB, and you can move it around to transfer files, or use it for backing up files, or for just to have extra storage lying around if you wanted to use it for that. An internal drive is a hard drive. Essentially, it's inside the it's a drive that's inside the computer. There's some different versions of it. So this is a normal hard drive. Then you have an SSD, which uses flash storage, so it's a lot faster than a hard drive. So you get different versions of the internal drive. USB is it's a way that devices interact with the computer using the USB port. So that's a port you find on various locations on the computer. You can use it for many things, hence universal. So you can use this for using memory sticks, external drives, microphones, charging devices. And there are many different types, like USB-C, micro USB, mini USB, loads of them. In fact, there's 8 different types. I think there's more now, actually, which is a bit strange, implying, because the name implies that it's universal, but they've created so many standards now that it's not really. But yeah, that's USB. An optical drive is something that you'd use to read a CD or a DVD. It can also write those kind of media as well. So that's what you use an optical drive for. You don't find them that much on computers nowadays, but some still do. You can get external ones, but yeah, that's an optical drive. An input device is literally anything that takes outside data, such as the way your hands move, or you typing on a keyboard, or anything that takes data from outside into a computer. That could be anything from mouse, keyboard, a game controller, a joystick, anything like that. That's an input device. Monitor, another easy one. I think some people mentioned it in the chat as well. This allows any visual elements that a computer wants to show is shown to the user. That's basically what it shows. It's a screen, also known as. So it's, yeah, anything that shows pictures onto the to the user. Keyboard and mouse, again, really easy one as well. Keyboards allow users to input text. So when you press a letter, that letter shows up on screen. And then a mouse, again, allows you to move the cursor. Well, when you move your hand, it moves the cursor on the screen and perform various actions using that. The first computer mouse was made from wood, and it was invented in 1964. So thinking about that, also the first computer, electronic computer, wouldn't even have had a mouse at that point. a printer takes any computer output and prints it out onto a piece of paper, as you might think. That's another easy one as well. Not quite a component of the computer itself, but it's sort of an extension of that. A network card. I have a network card here. This just allows your device to connect to the internet. That's hang on. There's a network card there. It usually has aerials coming out of it.
And Matthew,
And it plugs
it would be good for you to explain why does it have aerials?
So the aerials are what allow the signal to come out of it. Because if you didn't have these, then there'd be no way of it wouldn't be wireless in that way. It wouldn't. Although they used to be wireless. Sorry, no, they used to be. Yeah, they used to have connected wires to them.
Right.
But now this just allows you to send like you'd have on a radio that would send the frequencies out via the aerial.
So in other words, the difference between the picture that you show us and that one is that the one in the picture was using the cable to connect to the internet, and this one is using the Wi-Fi. Is that right?
Yeah, this one is using Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you.
Although nowadays they have made them so that like that's why your laptop wouldn't have aerials anymore. They have made them nowadays that you don't have to have the aerials anymore. So they have made them better in that way. Yeah, so the one in the picture has the port on the back that you plug the wire into, and then you connect to the internet that way. A camera, again, a camera is obvious. It takes pictures or it takes video and then stores it onto the computer. A scanner is a bit like a camera, but it's more specific to documents and pages, so it would read them a lot nicer than just pointing a camera at it. Right, so handling some of these, there are ways to handle different forms of media. CD, you'd want to not touch the shiny side of a CD because that tends to scratch them, and the moisture from your hands also damages the sides of them. So try not to, when you're holding them, try not to touch the bottom of them, the shiny side of them. Also try not to drop them because that usually ends up scratching the bottom of it as well. Hard drives, they're a little bit more durable, so they can be held however you like, really. But don't open them up because as soon as you get one speck of dust inside of a hard drive, that's it, really. So yeah, don't open it up. Don't drop them either, because that usually ends up breaking them as well. USB flash drives, again, these are probably the most durable storage device. Dropping them won't really cause much damage, although you can break them by bending them or snapping them. So try not to do that. Also keep them away from water because that will probably end up damaging them as well. So don't do that. With CPU and RAM, if you're ever handling them, don't touch these sort of, there's sort of like metal contacts on the top of them. Don't touch those because the moisture from your hands. Don't touch these because the moisture from your hands tends to damage the metal on them because it's quite corrosive. So try not to damage those. Okay, so that's just generally how you should handle like various parts of a computer. So when it comes to how you read, write, and access these different types of media, there's different ways you can do that. So some media is only read only. So this is when the media is written directly by the manufacturer, and then when you get that media, it can't be accessed whatsoever. So it can't be changed by you. It can still be accessed by you. So think about this like a DVD that you might have, or a CD. You can still watch or listen to the CD, but you can't change the CD because that's written directly by the person who's written it. Write once is usually a blank CD that comes directly from the manufacturer again. You can then write to it, but once you write to it, you can't change it again, so you can only write to it once. After you've written to it, you can still access it as much as you want. And then write-rewrite is the best one almost. This is media that comes blank. You can write to it, and you can write to it again and again and again, and you'll always be able to write to it. Nothing will happen to the data on it. So that's just some of the examples of that. Again, is you get rewritable CDs, and obviously a USB or an external drive is an example of write-rewrite. So, like we said at the beginning, RAM is used by your computer to store programs or files that are currently open and being used. So an advantage of increasing this RAM means that more things can be stored on RAM at one time. So that means it decreases the chance that you'll have to reload a program because it's too full at that time, so it has to delete it from RAM and then bring it up again. This just means it won't have to spend time doing that, so it means it will feel like your computer is faster because you don't have to open and reopen stuff again. So if you can imagine, sometimes you have loads of things, like you have a web browser or a Word document or everything open at once. It means sometimes if you ran out of RAM, it means they would have to reload one of those programs again, and it would take long. So if you had more RAM, it would just keep those things there, and you could just switch to them really quickly. So performance increases by this, but only to a certain point. So that if you have like 100 gigs of RAM and you're only using 20 gigs of RAM, adding an extra 20 gigs of RAM isn't really going to increase anything because you're only using so much at one point. So bear that in mind if you're ever going to upgrade your RAM. This is just to show how much, if you want to find out how much RAM you have, this is how you would do it. It's different for Mac OS and Windows. So if you have a Mac, it'll be in the Apple menu at the top. Then you click on About This Mac, and then the memory section is where you'd find the RAM capacity. Actually, I can, for people who have Mac, I can show you how to do this. So you go to the Apple menu at the top, About This Mac, and you would find it in under the memory section, which is this one here. And as you can see, I have 8 gigabytes of RAM. For Windows, you go into the Start menu, search for the control panel, and then you'd go to System and Security and System, and you'd find it there as well, under a memory.
For everybody who is watching, this is one of your requirements. If you can, Matthew, refer to the worksheet, that will help our Pathfinders follow it. So how to check these specifications. So if you have a PC, is this way. If you have a Mac, is that way. Thank you, Matthew.
Okay. Okay, this is also another one of your requirements. I think it's requirement 4 and 5. So different CPUs or processors will have different speeds, which are measured in hertz, or abbreviation is HZ. 1 hertz means that every second the CPU will complete 1 instruction. So when you see the word 1 GHz, or that's pronounced gigahertz, it means that it processes 1 billion instructions per second. So when you have more CPU speed, the computer generally processes tasks a lot faster. So when you're, and now this is again a requirement. So to find out your processor speed, it's different for Windows again, Windows and Mac again. It's again, for Mac, it's the Apple menu, then about this Mac, and then under the processor, it'll say the speed and the type of processor that you have as well. The same on Windows, it's system and security in this control panel, and then system, and then it will show it at the end of the processor thing. So make a note of that, because it's in your requirements to know how to find that. The final one that you have to know how to determine is storage space. Storage space is measured in bytes, and how many bytes determines how much information the computer can store. So increasing the storage, obviously, that won't make your computer faster, but you will have the ability to store a lot more on your computer. So if you have 5 gigabytes, it will store a lot more than a 1 gigabyte file. This is a bit different, so I can show you how to do it on Mac OS again. So you go to the Apple menu about this Mac and storage. And here you can see I have 128 gigabytes of storage in my hard drive.
Matthew, would you remember where is that on requirements? Which question is that?
It is number 5. It's on the bottom. These are the requirements on the bottom of the slide.
Oh, excellent stuff. So everybody who's following this, there is a number there on which question in Matthew is at the moment.
So thanks, Dan. On Windows, it's in the, you'd open your File Explorer, select this PC, and the C drive will show your capacity and how much you're using of that capacity, and that would be how much storage that computer has. Okay. So moving on to requirement 6, we'll talk about the different kind of printers there are. So as we saw in the first bit, a printer takes a digital output and then outputs it onto paper or card or as a physical hard copy or something. There are various kinds of printers, but the 2 main ones you'd find today are the inkjet printer and the laser printer. The laser printer you usually find in office buildings and sort of schools, big institutions, because they're more suited to that. And an inkjet printer you'd probably find in your home. Maybe your parents have one or something. So that's the difference. The laser printer is the one on the left, and the inkjet one's the one on the right. That's what they look like. So the inkjet printer uses liquid ink, which is deposited onto paper using the printer head. It uses small dots. So as you can see in the image, it will drop dots onto the paper and then create the image onto the page. It's usually black ink, but you can add a dye to the ink to create color. So that you'd have loads of different colors in the printer. They're usually a lot smaller than laser printers, so that's why you'd find them more in houses or on small office desks. That's when you'd find them. They also use inks and dyes, so because of that, they're more suited to printing photos as well. So you'd usually find people who print a lot of photos would use an inkjet printer over a laser printer. But because inkjet printers tend to smudge a lot, the laser printer will be better at printing text because it's more crisp. Come on, more crisp. The technology inside inkjet printers are also less complex, making them a lot cheaper than laser printers. This is one of your requirements, so you'd have to know the advantages of each printer. So so printing photos and making them less complex and smaller are the three main ones of an inkjet printer. The laser printer uses a different technology. It uses toner, which is a type of powder which is colored as well. The laser in the printer generates a charge that transfers the toner to the paper, creating an image on the paper. Because of that, because of the way it does it, it doesn't smudge or smear on the paper, so it means it's better for printing text. But because the colors of that are not as good, inkjet printers print a better photo generally. Toner also costs less, and it won't dry out like ink cartridges. So in the long run, laser printers tend to be cheaper than inkjet printers. Yeah, just to summarize there. Toner is less likely to smear, so that means printing text is better. And toner also costs less, so and it won't dry out, so it's usually cheaper to print stuff in the long run using a laser printer.
So Matthew, just for everybody who's watching this, as I by accident did a little research on printers as well. So printers, laser printers will be maybe about 4 to 5p a page. Is that right? But the inkjet will cost about 12p a page, and that is under condition that your printer doesn't dry out when it comes to inject. I had many problems with that before. The inkjet is much better now. And I have one here right now, but certainly I can tell you that a laser is that much cheaper to have, but then you would have to sometimes dish out more money. For example, cartridge is more money than an inject one. Is that right, Matthew?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, yeah. So again, let's do a little quiz again.
We like quiz.
So again, we use the chat again. Which one do you think is the inkjet printer in this picture?
Okay, so which one is inkjet printer on this picture? Come on, Pathfinders. Inkjet print. Oh! The answers are flying in. We're giving just some time for them to write it down as well, because there is about 9 seconds delay between the Facebook and Zoom, but we still are same family, despite in 2 time zones. And the majority answer is probably 97% is option B.
That is correct. Yes, you can see in this picture the colors are a lot bolder, and they just come up better, which is a characteristic of an inkjet printer. So it is
excellent, excellent stuff.
So which one would you say is the laser printer in this case?
I wish I can know what actually this is on the screen. What is that, Matthew? Because
it's just a dot. It's a dot from the print heads of each printer.
Okay.
So which dot was made by the laser printer?
So which printer is A, which printer is B? Is that right?
Yep. Well, we'll just say which one's A because that means they can just put out which
Okay.
which one.
All right. So there's when the okay, Matthew, what was your question? Rephrase it again.
Okay, which printer created picture A basically is what was.
The picture A. Which printer created picture A? Many people are writing. Is it laser or inkjet? A picture A. All right. This is like a little yeah. So people are saying the letter picture A was created by the laser printer.
That is correct again. Yeah, as you can see, the B is more smudged out, whereas A is more crisp and like it's actually a round dot, whereas B looks a bit.
We have a bunch of Pathfinder experts on printers here. I can tell you that for sure.
Another one. Which one is the laser printer in this?
Which one is the laser print, people? You were good. Laser print. Oh, I can see what's happening here. They are writing again, and I can tell you, I'm just giving time to Facebook audience. So a laser print. They are saying majority are saying it is option B.
That is correct again. Yes. As you can see again, the colors of A are a lot more bold than the colors of B. So hopefully you know how to distinguish the two and what the difference
I don't have any doubts that our Pathfinders now don't know how to distinguish it. Good.
Another type of printer is a 3D printer. This is really cool technology that's come out in the last few years. It uses plastic and strands of plastic and a printer head which moves in 3 dimensions to create 3D objects. Really cool stuff with this. And then you get a sophisticated computer program that will create, that you can like model the design that you want, and then just as you print off to a normal printer, you'd send this to your 3D printer and you'd get some really cool stuff.
Yeah, Matthew, it seems to me you're hitting computer or table with something. Do you have a
sorry.
Matthew, would you be able to tell me when it comes to a comparison of technology, is this using more technology of the inkjet printer or laser printer, or is it just the same principle?
Oh, it's complete. I think it's more actually. It's more like an inkjet printer. It'll use a head moving around on the table on this to create, but it moves in 3D rather than moving just in 2D side to side. It will move up and down as well to create a 3D object.
Also, Matthew, we have a message here which came, and it says, it seems to me that you updated the GC Honour, as this was not mentioned in the GC requirements list, Matthew. So thank you so much for additional bonus material for us.
Happy to do that. Here's just some of the really cool things that came out of a 3D printer. So they made a car using a 3D printer. Get a drive. The 3D printer made the plastic for this. You can make 3D objects using 3D printer, which a car was one of them. Someone made a castle with a 3D printer, and it's a real full-size one as well. People made shoes using 3D printers, which is really cool as well. Someone made a violin as well using a 3D printer. So some really cool stuff that people made using 3D printers. That's also another one that you could use in your requirements if you wanted to, because it is also a form of printer.
But also something quite relevant when it comes to 3D printers is as well, it was very recently used on masses to produce personal protection gear for the people who are fighting Corona, the COVID-19 virus. So many people around the world, when there was no masks, used those printers to print them out and help people.
Yep, that's correct, yeah. So yeah, it's really cool stuff that.
Matthew,
that
somebody
ever
asked the question as well about 3D printers. For example, the cars and the instruments and everything else. Are they usable, taking consideration they're coming from 3D printers?
The violin wasn't a sort of an acoustic one. It was one you had to plug in. So it was an electric violin. So yeah, I suppose in that way it was usable. The car, I'm not sure actually.
Nevertheless, Matthew, just yesterday I like this technology as well myself. They are now printing houses in 2 days with the 3D printers.
Yes.
They're slightly bigger than a Matthew once showed you, but this is incredible technology.
It
And
is. It's
somebody
really
also said, I have a 3D printer in the school. That is cool. In my school, didn't, yeah, I don't want to tell you about my school. Right.
I think my school had one as well actually. It's like, but you'd only get so they'd only let so many people use it as well. So it's just, yeah, really cool stuff with 3D. Did anyone have any more questions on?
No, Matthew, that is it. That is it. You take us forward.
Okay. So some of the ways that we also need we need to keep our computers safe from different attacks and things that might go wrong with it. So one of the ways we should do this is using backups. So backing up your computer means storing files that are important to us, like your photos or documents you're working on another storage media that's separate from your normal computer, so that they can be stored elsewhere in case your computer dies or there's a hardware failure or something goes wrong with it. One of the ways you can do this is put it on an external hard drive, or if you have cloud storage, you can upload it there so that it's separate from your main computer.
All right. So Matthew, as you're talking about backup, a few more things came through, and certainly people are saying you can back up on. So people are saying, oh, I back up my phone on iCloud, so that means you don't have to always have this physical backup in your house, but backups are very important. I can tell you that for sure. Also, somebody did mention, asked, we have a Ben who says that 3D printer car is still not usable, just to let you know, guys. On top of that, somebody did ask the question, are they able to buy a 3D printer? And Matthew, where they would be able to buy it, just before we continue with the backups.
Yes, you can buy 3D printers. They are very expensive, like several hundred to £1,000 for 3D printers. So
okay. So unless you want to print out plastic utensils or apron or something like this, maybe you should not buy it. Maybe you should just buy it made already for you. But the reality is there is a very few uses for the domestic use. So yeah. So thank you so much for that, Matthew. Take us forward with the backups.
Yep. So yeah, computers can fail. I'll just say that computers can fail at any time. We don't know when it's gonna happen. Something might go wrong at any time. So it's important that we back up stuff all the time. Good computer users will always back up stuff regularly. That's just going through the backup process again. If you have an external drive, or like you said, you can use iCloud to send your backup to externally, which is also fine because it's separate from your computer. Some of the ways of doing this, you could just copy them, but there's also programs that'll do it for you, like Apple's Time Machine will just create what's called a system image backup, which is just a complete duplicate of your computer. So you can just say, oh, I want that back. I want to back up now. It will back up the whole thing. And then when you want to restore it, it will recreate your computer like it was again, back when you backed it up. Windows file history is another example of doing that as well. Another way we need to protect our computers is from electrical things going wrong. So sometimes you'll have spikes of electricity, or you'd have lightning strikes, or something will go wrong. And so increased voltages to your computer will usually kill the components inside, which not very good. So using surge protection is good for protecting against these things. This will absorb the spike in current and prevent it from getting to the computer. Although nowadays a lot of power supplies and power adapters and things have this built in already, so usually don't need to worry about this, but it's usually good to check whether it does have surge protection installed in it.
And I can tell you this, guys, that one of my, I think my second or my third computer was fried up by the lightning strike, which hit about probably about 200 meters away from the house, but power lines just transferred all the electricity to my computer and fried it up. So make sure, guys, that you do have these. It's very important. At the same time, that was the largest lightning strike. The World Guinness Book confirmed that very recently. And I'm not sure that you noticed, but England is having more storms like this, as it seems to me temperatures getting warmer. So make sure that you do have these, guys.
Yep. Good. So internet safety, this is another one that you need to be aware of. The internet's full of really bad things. It's full of good things as well, but some of these things are viruses, not the COVID-19 virus, but viruses. Phishing is another one. This is when a site looks genuine, but when you put in your data to the site, like your password, then it just sends it to some attacker that now has your password because you used the dodgy site. Ransomware is a form of virus, I suppose. This holds your files ransom until you pay attackers some money, and they'll unlock it for you for a lot of money usually. Keyloggers and monitoring, these allow your attacker to see your monitor screen and what you're trying to do, and this also gives them access to your data. So not good things that are included here. Yeah, here's some examples of that. So this looks like Facebook, but when you look in the URL, it's really not Facebook. It's made to look like Facebook. This one was the WannaCry virus of a few years ago, where it spread through a lot of computers, and this is what they saw. All your files were encrypted, and you'd have to pay £300 to the attackers to get your files back, which is not great.
And also, just to let you know, guys, when it comes to this type of a virus, yeah, this was a virus which attacked many governments, but also institutions, including Andrews University. Andrews University, one of our universities, got attacked, and I don't know actually what was the resolution to this, but this easily can happen to all of us. So backup is very important, guys.
Yep, that's true. Yeah. Here's another example of, this is not really Netflix, but it's trying to be Netflix, trying to make you put in your card information. So try to be aware of these things. Well, some of the ways of protecting against this is an antivirus. This will usually have a known list of viruses that it will block and prevent you from running. There's a lot of free ones available, so install one. It's good for your computer when it does find one. Firewalls are another way of doing that. This monitors incoming and outgoing traffic, and if one looks suspicious that's entering your network, it will block it. But a note on this is it has to be kept updated for them to be actually effective. But obviously these are not foolproof, so there are ways that we need to protect ourselves against this. One is keeping your computer up to date. So always install those updates because they're usually there to fix security issues and so they don't affect the computer. Not clicking on any links that look strange or you don't know what they are. Try not to do that. It's not good. You'll use only official websites. So use facebook.com or use google.com. Don't use something that's trying to be that. Always check the URL when you're doing that. And don't use the same password on multiple sites. So if you have a Google account and a Facebook account and I don't know, Instagram or your school email or something, try not to use the same one because if an attacker finds out one, they can just use it on multiple sites and then you have a problem. So yeah, those are just some tips for keeping safe online.
Excellent. Thank you, Matthew.
Did anyone have any questions on that?
No, everybody is following at the moment, Matthew.
Okay.
We only have maybe about a few more
Oh,
minutes.
I've only got 5 minutes left. Okay, right. So we'll just go through a quick history of the computer. So back in 1955, just after the first electronic computer was made, they were still massive. They would take up a whole room. You couldn't really have one in your house just because how big they were, which is where the term bug came from. Does anyone know where that came from? It actually came from the fact that a bug or a moth was causing a problem in one of those computers, and it was causing them to not function properly. So that's where the term bug came from. Interesting fact there. In the late 1950s, they developed the transistor, which replaced the valve in the computer, the transistor was much smaller, which means they could fit in a much smaller package, which also meant that it could go into the home, and you could use peripherals with it as well. In the mid 1960s, they developed the microprocessor, which could have even more transistors on it, which means they could decrease the size as well. And they could also increase the performance, and it wouldn't consume as much power, which means the size of computers dropped in size again. But at that point, they costed about 70 grand. So it was very expensive back then. Not many people had them. When Intel made them, they cost as little as $500, which meant that it was much cheaper, which means this led to the evolution of the home PC, which also led to a company called Microsoft with a dash in between, actually, which is what it was called before. Allow people to write their own programs for these processors, which led to the evolution of different kinds of programs like word processors, spreadsheets, web browsers. All those kind of things were written by different people all following on from this company, Microsoft. Does anyone know what company this is?
All right. The question for everybody on the Facebook, on the chat and Facebook comment section. Do you know which company is this one? Okay, people are laughing. They are not answering the question yet. Somebody thinks it's a grocery store. Other think this looks like a company of. Oh, some people are writing some answers there that look okay, recognizable. Some people are saying Lenovo, and somebody saying Apple.
It is actually, yes, it is Apple. So Apple was founded by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, and they created basically the home computer. which they claimed it could be used by anyone. So in 1997, they launched the Apple II. Was a great success, and it had a display keyboard built in, and it only cost about £2,000, which was great for that time because that was a time when computers cost about 70,000. So this was a major breakthrough when they created this. This also increased this made the personal computer industry move forward because other manufacturers were also trying to compete in this space, which moved forward also the programs that were created for it. In 1981, this also led to IBM creating their first computer, which Microsoft won the contract for their operating system, which was called MS-DOS, which, as we know, MS-DOS later became Windows as well. After that, we also saw more portable computers, which came with their own keyboard and mice, and these grew into what we know as laptops today as well. Okay. So just a quick thing on spending time. There are several verses there. Some to note is there's a time for everything, a season for every activity under heaven, a time to, I can't read this because the thing's in the way, a time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. Another one is we are responsible for how we spend our time, and God expects us to use it in his service, is what Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says. So those are things there that tell us that God wants us to use our time wisely, and there's a time for spending time away from the computer and a time for spending time with family, spending time doing different things. Obviously, addiction to computers is very easy, guys. So try not to spend too much time and just keep your time. Spend your time well to do this. Moderation is key to doing this.
Thank you, Matthew.
There's also like several ways you can track the time you spend on the computer. You can keep a log. One of the tasks in the worksheet is to keep a log of how long you spend on your computer. So I've included a log in the worksheet for you to do that. You can also use, if you have an iPhone or a Mac, you can use Apple Screen Time because that does it automatically for you and it tells you what you've used too much of. So that's all from me. I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions.
A big thank you for that. We want to say thank you first before anything else, and then after that we can open it for the questions. My friends, let's just say a big thank you to Matthew, as he is our youngest presenter for sure. I'm gonna allow you to unmute yourself, guys. Let's give a big clap to Matthew. Yeah. Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.